Alright, I wanted to talk about the Golden Gift Box crossover item, the Mindbreaker Defender Shield. Um, Basically, it does Brain Fog, so we're looking at Blind and Death Loss. Both get a negative 20 penalty to the save. Both are inflicted with Intelligence and resisted with Intelligence. So we're looking at 9 Death Loss and 28 Blind. So the value of that is several things here. Universal Death Loss, unlike maybe some of the element-specific Death Losses, is actually very good. Giving yourself, basically in this case, 9 BTH for your entire side of the field as a Beastmaster is a good thing. As a lucky Beastmaster, and as specifically a lucky Beast Mage, you're giving your pets and guests that extra 9 chance to hit, and your pets and guests, that's the biggest downside until the stat revamp is finalized. It's your pet and guest BTH, so that's basically like fitting a puzzle to the lucky Beast Mage build, is creating that shield. And then the intelligence save and the negative 20 penalty, you're going to inflict it a lot. It's a quick cast skill once per turn. But basically, a couple ways you could go here. You could just click it every time once you start the battle, provided you have the SP, standard SP costs, and there you go, 28 blind, 9 death loss. And then if you wanted to, you could just, let's just say you attack, right? And then after it's done, I'll have to replenish some SP here. Go ahead and just do it all the way here. You're going to end up with 1 turn left, so you'll do it again. So now you're up to 42 blind, and your death loss is now 16. And then you could just do this every time, especially, you know, you have dual mosquitoes, you have jelly pet, you have creature 72 phase. You can regenerate your SP back. Now we're up to 19 and 49 blind. And then you could just continue like this. Your BTH will increase, your pet and guest hits will increase, so on and so forth, right? Like I said, just click and click and click. The blind will start to have a lower return on investment. I think a little quicker than the death loss, but you know, like 21 death loss, that's not, you know, however many turns it was, 4 turns, that's not a bad deal. Actually, the bat swarm here, I'm gonna back up again. So I'm gonna, before I show a couple of stacks here, I want to show a couple of buggy interactions here. So in this instance, I'm going to, the bat swarm is supposed to do, this is the energy fire variant, it's supposed to actually do a fire and energy death loss, but whenever you inflict the death loss here, the Omni one, I want you to see it will actually bug this one out. So now it's up to 14 in this case. So using the bat swarm with this guy here, in this case, it's actually enhancing it. It would probably actually be better if it didn't and it gave its own. Then you would have its own fire and energy death loss on top of the 9 in this case. And it would actually probably stack a little better, given the fire and energy element, for example. But that is what it is. Also, basically what the shield does is for all intents and purposes, does the same thing as this misc here. So you can actually do a blind and a def loss, a universal def loss with this misc. But these are they're for 4 turns. And then when you stack these two, some weird things happen. But it depends on the order in which you do it. So I'm going to show off this one first. So you got your blind and your def loss. It's the same thing. You got a higher def loss than the shield for 4 rounds, and a much, much, much lower blind, but for 4 rounds. Okay. So then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the shield. So the universal def loss is now up to 15, and then the blind is 21 there. Alright, so let's just go ahead and just attack here so I can go to the next round. Now, at this point, if you decide to go back on top with Zfinity, the def loss will bug out. We're now up to 17.6 because of the bat swarm. But what this is going to do now is it's going to lower the amount of def loss and drastically increase the rounds, provided that it is successful. And as you can see, it's now down to 7.9 and 12 for the def loss. Now, what I would recommend doing is, if you did want to run both at the same time, start with this guy and never come back to it. What I would do is start with this guy and then just focus on the shield. Let me back out of here, because the shield won't bug out. Let me just show that off real quick. Of course, Moglin friends. Alright, so let's do that again. Since it failed that, what we're going to do this time is start with the shield. So I've got the def loss at 9. And let's see, it may not bug out this time. Yeah, so we're up to 12 and 4. It will, either the next time or the next time after that, it will bug out. So what we're going to do here is, instead, going forward, we're just going to just use the shield. And you'll be able to see that it'll grow a little bit. You really shouldn't see it bug out. You know, up to 23.4. Your blind is up to 76, 7.7. And so, provided that you have some good, consistent SP healing, this is just going to grow. The blind amount actually went down because it's lost a turn. And then your def loss is now up to 32.4. It'll continue to grow pretty well. Basically, 32.4 BTH is pretty significant at this point. So, like I said, if you wanted to stack the misc and the shield, I would start with the misc, and I really wouldn't come back to it. If you wanted to do the shield first and then the misc, that's fine. But don't do the misc again. It's just a little bit of an enhancement because it adds the turns. But after that, I wouldn't come back to it because, like I said, it bugs out. And then, like I said, as you saw, the Warpire Bat Swarm will also kind of increase it a little bit. Alright, so now I'm going to move on to a couple other ideas. But all of this is essentially assuming let me go to practice trainer here just so I can get 100% baseline on elements here. Alright, so as long as you're replenishing SP, this stuff will work just fine. But as you know, you have Cherub armor, and so under Broken Heart Arrows mode, its default weapon attacks will inflict blind based on wind element. It does a reduced damage for the blind inflict. However, if you use a weapon with a clickable skill, that will bypass the damage decrease, but because it's a weapon, you keep the blind. And so if you have a weapon with a clickable skill that has blind, then what you end up with is a combined effect that essentially it stacks and it grows pretty quickly. But if you also add in this guy, let me grab my SP, so it should further enhance the actual blind stack. So we're going to go from 28 to about 65 in one turn. And then again, if you want to do it again, so clicking the shield again, now we're up to 83.5, and then this should really push it up way above 100 here, 113.5. So you basically got to 113.5 blind for 4 turns in 2 turns. And if you're just replenishing SP, you could just push this higher and higher. So now 132. This is overkill. You don't need this much. I would say maximum would be about 100. I think that would account for any potential monster leans, which we never know about what they look like. Obviously, it's not going to work for auto hit. You know, we're up to 150, and it'll just grow and grow and grow. And then also what's cool is the actual attack. Like if I just want to do attack, you'll see it's at 150. So now we're lost around, but we all the way up to almost 170. So you don't even have to, at this point, you don't even have to use Cutlass Delmar. You'll just lose a turn, but it'll gain the actual amount of blind, as long as it's inflicting. And then as you can see, it's starting to lower as it adds a round each time. Once it's at 1 round, it should lower again. So it'll continue to lower until it finally settles in at an amount that's normalized for its attack. But at this point, if you wanted to go back on top with this idea here, you basically just increased it to 82. You know, 82 blind is probably a 3 or 4% chance to be hit anyway. And then you're just using the stacking. So that's one way to use the shield with this specific setup. You could use a shield and then like swap over to like a Titan's Fall or something. Or once you set up the blind, you could swap over to an offensive setup, go with boosters, hop in a fully offensive armor. You'll be fully protected and just nuke from there. It's like a nuke setup. I typically don't personally like set it up in that fashion. I usually just play this out or cast spells or something at this point, and then still get my MP back. So that's one setup. This next one is going to be with Dark Invader, I've shown off the setup that I personally use. This setup is one of the most powerful setups in the entire game. It's quite ridiculous, and the shield just accentuated it and made it even better. So you're going to use the Bat Swarm from Warpire. You're going to go ahead and click your shield, get your blind, swap to Tropo. I use Independence Dagger for the Elevon, and then I personally prefer the SP Void Skull on SP mode, the SP Heal mode, and then Optico. And then your 28 blind, you could do a celerity here and it'll rise even faster. It's going to become 53.9, and then you're going to see the damage of the Void Skull is going to be enough to just rinse repeat. We're probably not going to see the blind here. It's going to be out of screen. Actually, staff needs to make the active status effects scroll. You should be able to click it and drag it up and down and check everything, I believe. But basically, after 2 turns, you're going to have 90 or 100 blind, I think. So you're not going to be hit anymore. And then because this is inflicting blind every time now, it's actually just going to grow every time. At this point, you really don't need to click the Mindbreaker shield anymore. And you just do this and just let your pet and guest actually do all the damage. Or if you want to do the damage here, you're going to see it's pretty decent. So even this monster here with... I'm trying to prime Chaos Orb myself over here. Do no damage this round. One of the issues with Prime Chaos Orb, I'm fine with the item. You run, risks all the time. Alright, so we're at 50% here. So we could do a stack here. Let's see. And this is one advantage to the shield not scaling, because of these low resistance monsters, it's not going to matter. So even though it's at 50%, you'll be able to see some good damage here. You can imagine what like 150% would be. It would be ridiculous. And then if you didn't want the resource regen, you could just do the Silas Pet. And you just saw that damage. So, yeah, Dark Invader's pretty crazy. You can use the shield to enhance the thing that it's doing itself. It's doing a 2-turn blind. The shield does a 2-turn blind. And then when you're using this armor, you're basically using a pet to replenish your SP, and it just makes it a perpetual thing, and you get to the point where you can never be hit. The choke ends up to the point where if you are hit, you take no damage, and the Elevon stacking with the Warpire Batsworm Bug is your offense. You don't even have to attack with the armor. It's pretty crazy. But basically that's 3 ways: just stacking it per turn, stacking it with Cherub, stacking it with Dark Invader, It is, in my opinion, at least for mages, the single best energy shield in the game. I would recommend it to anyone who plays a mage, whether they're a beast variety or not, but especially the lucky beast mages out there. To me, it's going to be difficult to beat that for energy. But there you have it.